Hey, beautiful souls, welcome back to the Abundance Club. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I value you. I appreciate you wherever you are listening to this from. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to invite you before we dive into this transmission to move yourself into a receptive state. And you can do this whether you are in motion at the moment, whether you're walking or running or driving or cooking or cleaning simply by taking a breath. Let's take a breath together. It takes no time at all. Like deep, 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 beautiful, juicy breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just feel yourself arrive. Feel yourself arrive and land into your sacred embodiment and celebrate this present moment and what it is inviting you into, what you are here to receive. This conversation that we often have about abundance centers so much around our capacity. And I'm not talking about our capacity. Often we talk about our capacity to carry, like our capacity to carry a load and a weight. And often it's measured by how much that we can do, how much that we can fit into our day, how much of a load that we can carry. And often we feel rewarded by our superhuman efforts or our power to be able to hold and bear weight. And this is not the capacity that I'm referring to. I find that that's a really imbalanced masculine paradigm that we have been pulled into, where our efforts are rewarded or our value or our worthiness is derived by the things that we do and the weight that we hold or how much we can self-sacrifice. And what I'm really inviting in this conversation is actually a flip of that. And that's going to feel to a system, like to your system that's used to operating in that paradigm, that's going to feel really unfamiliar. And it's even probably going to feel a little bit unsafe. Like, what do you mean? How can I? And often when I have women that come to work with me, they've been used to, as most of us have, operating in that paradigm, and yet they've never really felt fully attuned to it. They've never really felt fully at home in that world. I wonder if you can relate. But yet we keep up, don't we? We will say yes to doing all of the things. We will continue to show up to the point where we will take a moment, and often when we kind of wake up and we can recognize our patterns, we'll feel really separate from ourselves. We'll feel like almost we've left ourselves. And when I'm saying about leaving ourselves, it's really about stepping into an identity that is not fully attuned with the truth of who we are, that's not fully who we're here to be. So coming back to this concept of capacity then, if it's not about our capacity to hold and our capacity to do and our capacity to, acquire, then what is it? And so what I'm really referring to here, and really when we can drop into this space and acknowledge where our power lies, it's in our capacity to allow, it's in our capacity to receive, it's in our capacity to actually be in our truth and be a channel for the way that life wants to move through us. And this is how we're designed. This is how we are designed. And yet we're often pulled so far away from our nature, our natural instinctive way to operate, that when we come back into attunement with this, it feels so unfamiliar. And yet it's the most natural thing that we could do. So I'm finding at the moment, and we've just had this full moon in Leo, so we're in the early February, and we're leading up to the Chinese New Year when we're entering around mid-Feb, we're entering into the year of the horse, and you've probably heard this spoken about, the fire horse and how it's really got this energy of moving us forward and propelling us forward. There's a lot of momentum. We are really supported. But right now, prior to that coming in, we're feeling perhaps more in this unknown no man's land, more in this void, more in this space of looking around, wondering, when is it going to happen? When are things going to shift? And feeling a little bit like a boat without its anchor, feeling a little bit untethered. I want to remind you that we are in this final shedding period, and often when we're around the energy of the new moon, it can feel like at the moment, and particularly in the energy of this week, that there is a sense of things being illuminated and life showing us what we're ready to let go of and release, what we are actually not taking with us. So while it can feel maybe a bit stagnant in this time period, maybe a little bit like nothing is happening, the deeper question beneath the surface of that, where we are always seeking the evidence, right? That's coming from our ego. We're always wanting to measure our progress by what the 3D world is measuring back into us. Like, have I actualized this manifestation? Is the money coming in? Have I attracted in this soulmate relationship? And when we're not there, we can kind of think like nothing is happening. So I want to remind you of the power, the potency of going deeper beneath the surface level. We can only see less than 1% of reality. That is scientific. So whilst there is that part of us that's looking at our 3D world thinking nothing is happening, there is so much that's occurring in the unseen. There is so much that our subconscious, so below our conscious awareness, is co-creating with the divine. And what is our job then with our conscious awareness? It's what are we choosing? What are you feeding your subconscious? Remember, our subconscious is imprinted. It's imprinted by our thoughts. It's imprinted by our feelings. So while our conscious mind is the part of us that will question and doubt because it's programmed in a paradigm of fear and lack and separation. So it's always looking for the evidence. And if it doesn't have that evidence to affirm something positive, it's going to go into a threat response and is going to be thinking, there's something wrong with me. Why isn't this happening? Because it still measures reality based on your current circumstances that have filtered through our 5 physical senses of what it can see, touch, feel, taste. Your subconscious, which is creating a large part of your reality, right, is co-creating with the divine, a large part of your reality. It responds to how we feel, to what we assume, to what we are imprinting, what we are feeding it through our conscious awareness, which is repetition, not logic. So the convincing of your subconscious mind can sometimes feel like a coercion. But really, what we're doing is we're showing our subconscious through our feeling, through embodiment, through alignment, a reality that's normal and natural and real. So, how do we weave this into our dreams and our manifestations? The juncture occurs because we're still anchored in a part of us that doesn't quite believe that that reality where you're living whatever it is that you truly desire on a soul level, the part of us that still believes that that reality isn't available to us, that we have to somehow go out and get it and make it happen and create it. But this manifestation work is never about creating something from scratch because everything already exists. Everything is already created. Can you just assume that for a moment? Every desire already exists as a potential reality. Like creation is finished. It's already here. It already exists in this primordial field or in this quantum field. It is here, it's alive, and it's available to you. So you're not actually having to go out and create anything. What are we doing instead then? Like tuning in a radio station, we are tuning our mind, our body and our subconscious to the frequency, to the exact frequency of the version of you that is already living that reality. So our subconscious is like a receiver, and it needs to accept that reality as true, as safe, as normal, in order for it to be reflected externally, i.e., in order for us to experience the manifestation and see it. So, how does this now relate to this paradigm that we are in at the moment, where you might find yourself a little bit in no man's land, a little bit in that in between, where you know, that the old reality that you've left behind, or the old identity, no longer serves you? You've been doing the work. You've been starting to feel into a vision that actually feels quite alive, that actually feels like it's here and it's available to you, because you realize that it is. You would not have that vision. You would not have the capacity to feel that desire if it wasn't alive and ready and willing and waiting for you to tap into it. The reason I want to speak to this now is because there's a part of you that's saying you have to keep going. You have to keep hustling. You have to make this happen. And I want you to feel the energy that that comes from, because so often that energy is coming from fear, lack, and separation. And that fear, lack, and separation compass is not truth. It's not your true soul self speaking, because our true self speaks in limitless expansion. It speaks from oneness and wholeness, like nothing is missing. This is why often when you tune into your soul, you get that confirmation that you're exactly where you're meant to be, that you haven't missed a step, that you can't put a foot wrong. When you come home and recognize that you are a divine soul having a human experience. So let's bring this into something tangible for you to anchor into. Let's bring this into your own desire or dream that you're tapping into. The frequency you're stepping into is, and I want you to feel what that is for you. Maybe you are calling in a loving soulmate relationship. Maybe you are manifesting a certain vibration of income in your business that you want to experience in flowing in. Maybe you are wanting to travel the world. Maybe you're wanting to feel more ease and flow and connection in your life, like whatever it is. Once your subconscious believes it through feeling, through embodiment, through alignment, your external world has no choice but to match that inner reality. But it is not out there in the doing and the hustling and the making something happen. It is an inside, internal job. And this is where it gets tricky, because our conscious mind is always seeking, as I've said, for the evidence. And so when it doesn't see that, it is really easy to go into doubt, because it's going to throw off those thoughts of doubt. This isn't happening. This isn't working. That is a threshold moment for you, where you get to choose to go back into the old identity of the waiting and the wondering and the looking and the searching for the evidence and the doubting. And that keeps you in that in between, where there's that part of you that knows it's available to you and that part of you that still questions and doubts. But the invitation here right now is, how much can I embody the identity of the one who doesn't question, who can hold this energetic tone of certainty, who can hold this energetic tone of trust, of whatever are the qualities of the woman or man who is living that destined reality. Because I can tell you right now, they're not questioning or doubting. They're simply living their life, being in the experience of it, being in the joy of it. So the part of you, the aspect of you that knows that it's done, that it's already done, is not the one that questions. The part of you that knows it's already done is your higher self, is your soul self, is the evolved you, and they are your ally right now as we move through this next month. They are your guide, they are your anchor, while your conscious and subconscious mind catches up. So the question that you can start to ask yourself is, what am I feeding it? What am I choosing? And this is a really important question to ask yourself right now when it feels like there is a lot of noise in the external world. It feels like there's a lot of fear being broadcasted. Whether that's fear about financially, like what is going on in the markets, what's happening in the political environment. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, I've become aware of it, and I don't even watch the news. I'm really mindful of what's broadcasted, what I'm consuming. We get to choose the reality that we are available for. I want to say that again. You get to decide the reality that you are available for. And we can be living in this same world and split between realities based on what we are choosing to believe, what we're choosing to consume, what we're letting into our field, how we are letting that impact us. And so, what creates heaviness? If you've been sensing or feeling heaviness in the collective, like what creates the heaviness isn't what's happening in the world, it's the meaning we make of it. It's what occurs when we let external circumstances pull us out of our own authority. Now, you can look at this on a macro level, or you can look at this on a micro level. You can look at this in the way that we are giving away our authority by what we're choosing to consume, and then the thoughts that we are going to be consuming ourselves. We can look at this, in our own micro level of what it is that we are letting in our own life, in our own external circumstance, pull us out of our own authority because we're choosing not to fully trust and know that it is done. And when that happens, we're no longer anchored in our own embodiment. We are at the mercy of somebody else's agenda. Now, that could be, the fear that's broadcasted through the news that's televised. That could be like the agenda of the government and politicians and the policymakers, like all of that. Or it could be like the agenda of just your current three-dimensional circumstances. And I can tell you right now that that agenda is not a soul-led one. You can feel that in your body. It's a fear-based one. And what is fear? Fear isn't truth. It's conditional. It's limited. It's survival, right? And that usually means like work hard, struggle, hold back, cut back, limit, limit, limit. Like this is what's being broadcasted. But you need to start to ask yourself, how does that feel? How does that feel in your body? How does it actually feel when you believe that? When you believe those stories, when you believe that those thoughts, how does it feel? Does it feel good? Does it feel expansive? Does it light you up? Because to me, that feels contractive. It feels limited. It doesn't feel like fun. And we are not here for that. Our soul isn't here for that. Our soul is here for expansion. This is why you're here. Our soul is here to experience the limitlessness because that is what our soul is. So this is a really good time as we're moving through and leading up to this new year, the Chinese New Year, and we're clearing out, we're doing that final shedding. It's time to get really clear on what are you signing up for in this human reality? And what are you no longer co-signing? What is the limitation? What is the fear? What is the lack stories that you're no longer available for in your own consciousness, or that you're no longer available to consume externally of somebody else's thought processes and beliefs or agenda? Because, my love, you get to choose. And when we consume fear-based narratives, whether our own or those externally, that are designed to keep us small and contracted, because even the ones that are coming through our own thoughts from our own paradigm is designed to keep us the same, is designed to keep us safe by keeping us in what is familiar and unknown. When we do that, we unconsciously start embodying a reality that actually isn't ours, that actually isn't one that our soul is choosing. It's one that's led by fear. It's one that's led by lack. It's one that's led by our ego. And what happens when we're anchored into our ego? We're playing God. We're edging God out. We are not trusting in the divine. So it's not one that's chosen by our soul. And so we get hijacked by our conditioning, by the part of us that doesn't fully trust that it's safe to expand, that it's safe to create, that it's safe to have it all, that it's safe to be abundant. Even when there's a version of reality that screams that it isn't. But you have a choice. And choice doesn't happen in your head. Choice happens in your body, in what you allow yourself to feel, to let in what you allow your nervous system to entrain. So I want to ask you, I invite you to contemplate, what are you choosing? What are you choosing right now? What's the reality that you're embodying? And what are you letting go of? What are you finally done with? Maybe it's the way that you've been playing small. Maybe it's a way that you've been co-signing these certain stories and fear-based narratives that are circling through your own conscious awareness. And you can choose again. What if it gets to be easy? What if that actually isn't the reality that your soul has chosen? What if you believe that you are the script writer? What would you then co-sign? What would you then dream up? And if there's a part of you that's protesting and thinking, I have to pay attention to this, whatever it is that's going on in the external world, like it's serious, I need to be realistic. Again, can you check in? What is the part of you that's saying this? Does it feel like truth, or does it feel like stories? Does it feel like somebody else's rules? So many of us are living and playing by somebody else's rule book that's not invented by your soul. And it is time, it is actually a requirement that we come home and learn to trust our own soul. That we learn to trust that thriving in this world is our birthright, that not only supports us but supports others. It's an essential requirement. So the way that I see it is that there are a couple of clear paths here for you, two potential realities. And one of them is staying plugged into a matrix of collective fear and separation and trying to think your way to safety by making practical, logical decisions. And maybe you have been living by that rule book for quite a while. Most of us have. And this other way is the soul embodied way, the soul authority way, is choosing to create a reality that feels good for you. Actually choosing to create and co-sign a reality that gets to feel good, where joy is your compass, that gets to feel exciting, that gets to feel easy. And so, as we know, it all starts by becoming deeply embodied, by returning to what feels good for you, what feels truth for you, what's a better feeling thought, not the one that's feeding an old timeline because that's not serving me anymore, but one that's aligned with this frequency that I'm choosing to embody. The frequency of the version of me who's living that reality now, that higher timeline, that desired reality. What am I believing right now? And most people know this intellectually, right? But the bigger question is, can you hold yourself here consistently, even when the evidence in the 3D might be stacked against you, might be telling a different story? Can you still continue to hold and embody this tone of trust, of knowing that it's done, of trusting in your vision and your desires and your dreams so much that it's that trust and that faith that materializes them into physical existence? And none of this is about bypassing reality. And when you believe that, you can notice that it's just fear trying to take control. But what if you let your soul lead? And this soul-led authority is the clearest calling right now in the collective as the world becomes noisier by the day, as we are receiving more and more in the external information, guidance, but all of it outside of ourselves. Soul-led authority invites you to live and create a different reality without denying what's occurring in the world, but instead understanding where your purpose lies. Right? How are you contributing to this new earth? Is it by being pulled under into fear and separation and then continuing to perpetuate that reality? Or is it by choosing to shine in your light, choosing to feel good, choosing to birth in something that might feel really unknown, might feel really unfamiliar, but there's a vision that you hold, and that you hold that for a reason, of a world where you feel safe in your thriving. You feel abundant and know that that abundance is serving the world. Can you imagine a world where everybody is thriving? You are leading right now through your embodiment, through the way that you choose to show up every day, and you choose yourself, and you choose yourself again and again, not in a selfish way, but in a way where you decide, I'm no longer self-abandoning because that serves no one. I'm no longer shrinking because that serves no one. I'm no longer being pulled under by fear and doubtful thoughts because that is not truth. The only truth is love. The only truth is love that comes from our soul. And so what if your purpose is to be the truest, most alive, most fully expressed version of you? What if that is your purpose as you step into this new year, where you get to choose to live as your highest self on your highest timeline? And it doesn't happen by waiting for it. It happens by choosing courageously to embody that now, to embody that version of you now. So what we're really seeing is this split between people who are led by fear and external conditions, and the people who are learning to live from their embodied soul authority. They're the choices. And if you're listening to this And you know, not just mentally, not just conceptually, but you know in your body that you're ready to stop being pulled under by the collective fear and to start living as your sole authority. You know that because you've chosen that before you've come here. You've chosen to be one of the leaders to bring through this new paradigm. And it's go time now. We're on the precipice of that now. So if you are feeling in that in between, if you're feeling a bit in no man's land, if you're feeling a bit in the void, can you trust? Can you trust that you are leading the way? Can you trust in what is forming in the unseen that you can't quite yet see the evidence of? But there is a vision. There is a deep knowing when you tap in that you're exactly where you're meant to be, and that this life that you're co-creating is better than you could have even imagined. And if you are ready to really start to bring that in, really start to lead in that way, this is the work that I do privately with clients. In a sacred 2-month container, I only take a limited amount of women because I am with you most days. You have the Voxer support or the WhatsApp support, so that when you get caught and pulled under by the old self or the old timeline, we get to shift that and reaffirm who you're becoming. And this sacred identity work that quantum leaps you into a new reality and anchors you in. And the women who are doing that work are increasing their capacity to receive the life that is here for them. But it takes conscious awareness to reprogram your subconscious makeup so that you feel really safe living that reality, because there's a part of you right now that feels that that is way too unsafe. And that is normal. That's in our system. So the work is about stabilizing the identity that can receive, lead, and create, even when we're living in a world that feels uncertain. And it's such powerful work. And so my 2-month private container is called Flourish. And whether you're ready for that, you'll know whether you are, whether you're actually ready for that shift. Or if it's a single session that you want, then those are available for you as well, for those who feel like they're on the threshold and they're ready to not just understand this magic. And often we stay in the level of the mind when we are reading the books and doing the practices and listening to the podcasts because we're conceptualizing it. But the work here is embodiment. And this is why it very often takes work with a coach or a guide or a mentor that can hold you in that process when there is a part of you that really wants to revert back to what it knows and what's safe and familiar. And not everybody is up for that. But if you're done playing by the same old rule book, if you're done experiencing the same level of reality and you want to receive the newness that comes through embodying that shift, through living on that new timeline, then soul embodied manifestation is the powerful gateway forward. And that's available, and the details are in the show notes. And if you're listening to this podcast and this is resonating for you, then keep going, keep choosing yourself. Really start to look at in these next couple of weeks before we shift into the year of the horse and we're in this very final shedding of this snake. What am I really not prepared to take with me? What am I really finally ready to untether from? And when we do that, we starve out those old timelines and we starve out that old identity. So I hope that this meets you where you are. If it resonates, a lot of the times when you're listening to a transmission like this, you're going to feel the resonance in your body while your mind might be still protesting, or your mind might still be having trouble computing all of this. So hopefully this speaks to you more in a knowingness on the soul level, and take the space to integrate that. And ask your soul to lead you, because it's the one that's, your soul is what's here to guide you forward. Your mind is not. And I feel like I say that all of the time, but it is truth. Your mind doesn't have the solutions, but the solution and the guidance is here in your field. That part of you that's been to the future and back, that part of you that knows that they are beyond this physical body and this mind, the part of you that is tapped into the one divine consciousness, that I am essence. You are so powerful. Never forget that. And your power to choose, your power to have awareness over what you're letting in and what you're co-creating, is your most sacred tool as your superpower. So join me if you want support anchoring in this shift, and you're finally ready to open the floodgates to the abundance that's available for you and to the dreams and desires that are here for you. This is the work, and I would love to invite you into my 2-month Flourish container, or a single session. All the details are in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give it a rate or a review on Apple or on Spotify. Share it with a friend, and reach out to me and let me know what spoke to you, what you're still struggling with perhaps, and what you are ready for, what you're ready to open yourself up to receive as we move into this exciting new portal. I'm there with you. Love you so much. Thank you.